Because we're joined on the Dish Network hotline by an old highway patrolman, an old state trooper. It is my dad, Dale Miller. Hey, Dad, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. I enjoyed that Marty Robbins music. He's my favorite.
Hey, I knew you loved Marty Robbins. I thought you would like the bumper music today. That's pretty good stuff, isn't it?
You bet you can't beat Marty Robbins.
Yeah, but he is the best. He came out to Jonesboro, did a concert one time at the old Indian Stadium, didn't he?
Yes, the police department got together, the auxiliary, and fundraiser, and it was so big they had it out at the football stadium, and big crowds on it.
Yeah, I know. I can remember I was a little guy back then. I guess that was back in the 70s. You gave me the option of going, and I chose instead to stay at Grandma's house and not go to that concert. So, kind of wish now I would have gone to see Marty Robbins. I would have loved to have been able to say I saw him.
Yes, he died a few years after that, so
right.
Don't have that opportunity now.
No, you don't. Now, Dad, tell the folks, how long did you work with the state police?
I've worked 37 years from 57 to 94.
57 to 94, and your first car was one like a Model A, was that right?
Oh, well, they was a little better than that.
Well, all right. How long have you been interested in Old West history?
Oh, for the last 30, 40 years, I'm interested in the true West. I don't care about the fiction part, but I read a lot of books, subscribe to the True West magazine, things like that.
Yeah. Well, I knew that you were a big fan of Old West. I thought you'd be the perfect guy to come on and talk to us about the gunfight at the OK Corral. Did you know that it happened 129 years ago today?
It sure did. It was on a Wednesday about 3:00 in the afternoon. It was a cold day, they said, in Tombstone, but windy.
Yeah.
And
well,
it was a bad day for them.
It's a day that has certainly lived in infamy, for sure. Now, what in the world was the problem? I know a little bit about this whole gunfight at the OK Corral. I know it involved Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday. On the other side, it was the Cowboys, the Clantons, the McClurys. What in the world caused the problems between these two factions?
Well, they'd had problems. The Cowboys was really some rustlers. They was all legitimate ranchers. They had ranches, but they would go down to Mexico and rustle cattle. They at one time stole 6 government mules that the Earps found out there, and that started the bad blood between the Cowboys and the Earps. And the Earps was sort of the law and order folks. Now, although Wyatt wasn't actually the law there, Virgil, his brother, was the city marshal. Wyatt Earp was a gambler, and he spent most of his time there in the saloons gambling. But when they'd have trouble, Virgil would deputize Wyatt and his brother Morgan, and sometimes Doc Holliday to go on the posses, for backup. But they'd been bad blood, and Earp, the sheriff of that county, Cochise County, he was sort of on the Cowboy side because there was a lot of them that voted, and he had a girlfriend named Josephine Sarah Marcus, and Earp sort of took a shine to her and took her away from Johnny Behan, and that also kind of fueled a flame, and they didn't like each other at all. And so they was some bad blood.
So it's basically all over a woman then?
Well, that got figured into it, but it was basically they didn't want anyone, the Cowboys didn't want anyone fooling with them, stealing Mexican cattle, coming up there and selling it.
Mm-hmm.
And Earps was not any shining armor people. They were gambling, and they've been tied in with prostitutes. You could take your prostitute to Tombstone when it's all men, and get rich. And they was known to have a woman or two around them. But really, when there was trouble, they did generally side in on the law side, riding in posses and stuff.
Yeah. So I've heard in the past that there was also some political problems, some political differences between the two factions as well. Would you speak to that?
Wyatt Earp wanted to run for sheriff,
mm-hmm.
and Johnny Behan was the sheriff, and he was running, and that was figuring into it. And if Earp could make a good showing, they'd had a stage robbery, and he was offering the outlaws the reward if they turn in the 2 boys that did it. He would give them the reward where he would get the publicity for it and possibly help him in the sheriff's race.
Mm-hmm.
And that had all come apart, and there was just a lot of bad feelings, and they'd had a trouble. Ike Clanton was the leader of the Clanton gang, and he'd been in town the night before, and he got drunk, and he had, but he during the next morning he threatened to shoot the Earps on sight, and they had pistol whipped him, took him to court, and fined him $25, and he got out. Well, he got his boys together down at the OK Corral. And that's really a misnomer. The gunfight at OK Corral, it really didn't occur at OK Corral. It was about a block down the street from the rear entrance to OK Corral. It was actually in a little old vacant lot there. And they said it was 6 doors down from the rear door of the OK Corral. But the gunfight actually happened in a vacant lot there close to the OK Corral.
We're talking to my dad, Dale Miller, about the gunfight at the OK Corral, or gunfight close by the OK Corral. Happened 129 years ago today. All right, let's talk about this actual gunfight. Now, obviously, we don't have any eyewitnesses who were living. How old were you when this happened anyway, Dad?
Well, I wasn't there. You're leading them astray there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. All right. Well, what actually happened? This gunfight, we know a little bit about the two sides. We know the bad blood between them. What actually happened at this famous gunfight?
Well, Virgil was city marshal, and he deputized White and Morgan and Doc to go down and help disarm these. They had a no-gun policy there in Tombstone, and these cowboys had guns. And we got down there while they... two of the cowboys had pistols on their sides, and there was 2 Winchester rifles in the holster of the horses they was holding. And horses, according to who you believe, the Earp says they go down, and Virgil does say, "Throw up your hands. You're under arrest." And all of a sudden, the shooting breaks out. In about 30 seconds, there's 30 shots fired. And in that time, the Tom McClary, Frank McClary, and Billy Clanton were all killed. Virgil Earp was shot in the leg, Morgan Earp in the back, and Doc Holliday got hit on his scabbard of his pistol and just sort of bruised it. And White Earp wasn't hit at all. And it lasted about 30 seconds, what all witnesses said, and been talked about these 129 years, and they still don't know exactly what happened. The cowboys claim that they just got murdered, that the Earps hollered, threw up their hands, and started shooting them. But and they had witnesses, but they was all varying accounts of it.
Right. Now that Doc Holliday, he was a rough character, wasn't he?
Yes, he probably did most of the killing there. He had a shotgun, and one of them, the only wound he had on him was a shotgun wound. Tom McClary. Sure, he killed him. Then he shot Frank McClary a time or two. Of course, the others were shooting him too, and they all had several bullet wounds in them. Yeah.
Well, Doc Holliday, he seemed to have a devil-may-care attitude about life. Why in the world would he have that kind of attitude?
Well, he was a dentist. He's from Georgia, and he had contacted TB, tuberculosis, and the doctors had recommended him going out west to help his health, and he knew he was going to die. In fact, he died in 1887 at Glenwood Springs Sanatorium up there, but he knew he was going to die, and he didn't care if he got killed or not, and I think that was why he was brave as he was.
Right. They were talking about the OK Corral. Now, I don't know, I'd say probably the most famous gunfight in history, but Dad, there was a whole lot of other gunfights in the Old West. Some of them I'd say probably much bigger than this one. Why is the gunfight at the OK Corral so famous?
Oh, you take the Daltons at Coffeyville, Kansas was as big. Northfield raid was as big. But what happened afterwards, after this little gunfight was over, in December, Virgil Earp got ambushed and his arm practically shot off. It was useless the rest of his life. And then in March after that, Morgan Earp was shot in the back and killed. And after Morgan was killed on March 18th, well, after that happened, the Earp was leaving Tombstone, but White got him a posse together. He was then appointed Deputy United States Marshal, and he got word of who did it, and I think he killed about 4 men in about 4 days after that. One of them was Frank Stillwell. he was killed at the Tucson train station on March the 20th, and they had a Florentine cruise. They called him Indian Charlie, and White found out that he was in on it, and when he cornered him, he said, well, all he did was hold the horses. And White said, what they pay you? And he said, $25. So White just shot him right then because, killing his brother for $25.
Right.
And then he had a gunfight with Curly Bill Brocious, who was sort of one of the leaders of the cowboy gang, on the 24th, and killed him with a shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, of course, they had warrants out for him, and they left Arizona, went up into Colorado. And another thing made this so big was White Earp lived to 1929, and he was able to tell his story. And of course, those cowboys all got killed or hung, and wasn't many of them told their side of it. And, there was some books wrote that was really on the Earp side of it. But lately, there's been some books that's pretty factual about what happened. You can get at the library and tells both sides of it.
Well, the victors usually get to write the history books.
That's true. And he got to tell his side of it where some of the others didn't.
Right.
He was quite lucky. He was in several gunfights during that time. Up to that time, White Earp probably never had shot anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And he there just in a few months killed 5 or 6 people.
Mm-hmm.
And never got shot. Got a hole shot in his coat one time. Got the horn shot off his saddle one time, but never got shot himself. And
just sort of
that kind of brought attention to him.
Yeah, sort of lived a charmed life in that regard, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Talking about the gunfight at the OK Corral with my dad, Dale Miller. Now, you served in law enforcement from the 50s to the 90s here in Arkansas. Which would you rather have done, served in law enforcement when you did, or back when White Earp was serving in law enforcement?
Oh, when I did. We had air-conditioned cars in.
They didn't have that then, did they?
No, it was hot out in Arizona.
No doubt. Hey, Dad, there's a whole lot of movies that have been made about the gunfight at the OK Corral. I don't know. I'd say probably dozens of them. Most recently, Tombstone, White Earp. I'd say that's probably two of the most famous movies based upon this. I know you've seen a lot of those movies. Which one would you say tells the story most accurately?
Well, I personally like Tombstone best. That White Earp is a good movie. They made Gunfight at OK Corral in '57, Burt Lancaster, and that was a great movie, but there was a lot of fiction in that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd say that Tombstone or White Earp, either one, is a pretty good version of it.
I never understood Doc Holliday. He would often say in Tombstone, "I'm your Huckleberry." What in the world was that? Is that factual? Did he actually use that phrase in real life, or is that a Hollywood thing?
What was the phrase he used?
"I'm your Huckleberry."
Yes, he was known to say that. It was kind of a saying back then. I'm your Huckleberry. If you want to do something, I'm your Huckleberry. And he said things like that. Earp was he had some. Now Earp was not a very likable man. He was pretty straight and didn't talk much. But he told Ike Clinton when he was threatening all that, he told Ike, says, "Ike, you talk too much for a fighting man." So, he had his quotes, but now he was not like when Virgil was a very likable and a better policeman than White Earp was.
Yeah.
But he died in 1905, and so he didn't get to tell his side of it.
Right.
Now,
right.
Glenn Boyer, who's probably wrote more Earp stuff than anybody, said if Virgil had lived instead of White, he would have probably been the famous one today,
Yeah. Well, talking about the gunfight of the OK Corral with my dad. Dad, I know there's a lot of guys that may be interested in finding out more about it. Would you recommend any particular book or anything that people can get kind of for further study on this thing?
Yes, there's several good books. You can go to the library and just dial in White Earp, and any of these later ones are pretty good. I've got someone wants to borrow one, I'll loan it. But the earlier ones, Frontier Marshal, White Earp Frontier Marshal, he talked to a lot of people back in those times, but he just strictly went with what Earp told him, which sometimes was kind of blown out of proportion.
Right. Well, fascinating stuff. The gunfight at the OK Corral happened 129 years ago today. Appreciate my dad talking about it. Dad, I want to shift gears with you real quick from one famous lawman to another, from White Earp to Jason Lassiter. Man, we lost a great guy when we lost Jason.
Yes, Jason's a good friend of mine. I work with him quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, I know that you had said that you may be interested in calling in with a Jason story. You got one of those?
Yeah, I've got a couple of little cute ones I'll tell on Jason, and I think his friends know it. You know, big old tough Jason. You never saw him back down from anything or run, but I was in a situation one time when I saw Jason run a few steps. And,
really?
There was a gentleman killed over at Leachville, and he was a friend of mine, Danny Brown's dad. And this fella had just got out of the pen, and he killed Danny's daddy and robbed him. And we got word he was over here in North Acres apartment. And me and Phil Carter and Jason and a couple of city officers went out there and surrounded this apartment. But they come out and said he had just left before we got there, and he went out in this big sage field, which was north of the apartments then. So we spread out, and we was going to go across there. And they told us that now he ain't going back to prison. Said he's already killed too many people, and he said he wouldn't be taken alive when you had a gun. So, of course, we was going across there. We was very apprehensive, watching where we stepped. And Jason walking into a covey of quails. And he run backwards a few steps there.
Sound like a machine gun going off, I guess.
Yeah, of course, it really scared all of us. Have you ever been in the middle of a covey of quail? But and then this other little story This happened just a few years ago, right before Floyd Johnson passed away. Floyd was chief of police, and Jason he was breaking in one of the rookie officers, and they left City Hall and walked out on the parking lot, and Armadillo went across there. Well, Jason, this rookie, got shooting at it, killed it. Well, seemed like someone going by didn't appreciate that. They called Floyd and told him about it, and Floyd called Jason and said, "You need to be in my office and bring your rookie, and we'll talk to you about shooting that armadillo." So Jason told this rookie, said, "Now listen, you didn't shoot. You just, because I'm fixing to retire and they can't do much to me anyway." Said, "I'll take all the blame." And so they went in there, and Floyd said, "Now, Jason," said, "I don't know what happened, but we got word that y'all shot an armadillo out there." And Jason said, Yes, sir, Chief." Said, "I did." Said, "But that thing come across there, and it was coming right at me, and it bared its teeth at me." Floyd said, "Why?" Jason said, "Armadillos don't have teeth." He said, "Oh, well, how was I to know it was dark?" He said.
Always thinking. Oh, man.
Yeah, but he was quite a character, and we'll all miss him.
Yeah, very good policeman and good football coach. You remember those YMCA flag football teams of mine he coached?
I do. You know, Jason was a large man. Me and Jason were doing security at a Nettleton basketball game, and they had a fan got real unruly, and the referee stopped the game and throwed him out. Well, we had to take him out. He was drunk. And we got outside. He started fighting. We got him down on the gravel there, and we had to call a unit to come down there. And I said, "Jason, you hold him, and I'll go call this unit." And so Jason sat down on him. I said, "You think he can have it?" Of course, Jason weighed about 350 pounds. And I come back, well, oh boy, right where he was begging Jason get off of him.
Hey, as a fight breaks out, Jason's a good guy to have on your side, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Sure enough. Well, good stuff. Dad, thanks for taking a little bit of time with us. Enjoyed the OK Corral talk. Sure appreciated the Jason Lassiter stories.
You bet.
All righty. We'll see you. That's my dad, Dale Miller, calling in the gunfight at the OK Corral.